Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is having a fabulous day today. We have a lot to cover. As is usual, let's just jump in and get there, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off with King Charles. Now, when he had his reception the other day, you know, the one where he thanked everybody for planning and carrying off his coronation so well, he told somebody that he wished he could change one thing. If you can believe it or not, he said next time he'd like to be closer to the stage or bring his binoculars, because wherever apparently they put him, he had trouble seeing the stage. There were over 20,000 people there, and even though they were in the royal box, apparently their seats were set back quite a ways from the stage. So even though they were clapping and, smiling and appearing to have a really good time, they apparently were so far back, they were having trouble seeing the stage. So he's like, next time I'm going to bring my binoculars. Oh my goodness. Now, with that, I have to say that what you see on TV is much different than what you see in person. I can say that now that I'm actually in England right now. It appeared on TV like the royal box was so close, when in actuality, it wasn't. And I can totally see that, because now that I've seen things in person, I thought, wow, I thought that was so much bigger or smaller. Moving on. All right, moving right on to Harry and Meghan. This woman who has a PR company says it's not too late for Harry and Meghan to save their careers. The problem is they don't have careers. He isn't trained to do anything except shake hands, smile, and represent the royal family. And he couldn't even do that. It was too hard for him. All right, this is going to be one of our stories for today. Meghan's new project, they're saying, is doomed, because there's one thing worse than being talked about, and that's not being talked about. So, for instance, Harry and Meghan were, on that coastal resort in Portugal, and the press, they're saying, barely blinked, in contrast to when Fleet Street nearly died over, Harry zipping about Europe like a tech Mongol, when he was yelling fire about climate crisis. So first off, you should know that in May, June, and July, 40% of surveyed Americans had a positive view of her, and 23 were negative. Now it's saying only 32% like her and 22 dislike her. So basically Americans are turning on her. So over the summer, there was a lot of momentum. There was a lot of public outings. There were multiple reports. Something big was coming. And then the summer ended and nothing happened. We're coming up on the 1 year since her mock curtsy on Netflix. We know that their Spotify deal is gone. They have no other confirmed projects in the work for Netflix. Things are just not going well for them. People are also saying she thinks her new website is going to rival Goop. Sorry, that takes work. She doesn't work. And while she's talking about this new memoir, people are saying that if she attacks Catherine in it, that is absolutely going to be the last straw for the royals. I agree. All right, let's move on to the whole I need a house in the UK thing. What's really going on here, I think, is he needs it for tax purposes. He also needs it to keep his counselor in state position. He wants to rent an apartment at Kensington Palace. The problem is William is there all the time, and there's just no way, first of all, that Meghan is going to come back to the UK. Second of all, there's no way that William is going to allow him to rent an apartment at Kensington Palace. I think William is very much behind the scenes in Charles's ear saying, yes, you can do this. No, Dad, don't do this. Harry's basically homeless in the UK. They're in California. And I think Charles is saying to him, don't get an apartment here. Don't come back. Nobody wants you back. It's very simple. And don't forget that Charles did extend an invitation, which Harry declined. He could go to Balmoral, and Harry said no, because if Harry went to Balmoral, he'd have to face his father. He'd have to face his family. He wants the perks of royalty, the security of royalty, the castle of royalty, but not the family. And it's with that thought in mind that GB News has come out and said that the only reason he wants a house here is to help him with his free taxpayer-funded security. Well, what the article says is he wants to go back to the UK because he doesn't need his father's permission to do that. And he can buy a house there. He doesn't need his dad's permission. But then he's going to try to get 24/7 security because he'll be around, even though he's not working at a royal, at the expense of the taxpayer. And we know the London court allowed Harry to challenge the decision to end his police protection in 2022. In May, he tried to pay privately for it. He was denied. And Ravik is removing his publicly funded security. He doesn't work for the royal family anymore. Moving on. Let's move on really quickly to our name and shame segment. This shocked me. A New York City cardiologist apparently put up a tweet saying he sedated an Israeli patient to quiet him down after he started quote unquote yapping about his Palestinian flag pin. I would not have believed it had I not seen the tweet. There it is. I am shocked. So this is supposedly who this person works for, Methodist Health System. However, when they did a check on this gentleman, he'd already switched employers and is now working in Denver, Colorado. I'm sure his employer has been notified. Hopefully he's looking into this. Moving on. Next up in our name and shame segment, we have a woman at a shopping center in Chestnut Hill. I'm not exactly sure where that is. She was caught removing the pictures of kidnapped children and women from signposts. I don't understand why people can't just leave those alone. What is your problem, people? Anyway, she was identified. There she is. Dr. I hope I'm saying this correctly. This is important. Zen Aldib. Yeah, whatever. She is an endodontist, and her employer then announced that she was fired. Well done, employer. All right, I believe we have one more for our name and shame segment today, and that would be Courtney Carey, who supports terrorists and says Israel is a terrorist state. She works for Wix. The problem is, as you can see in the tweets, she put the tweets out while announcing where she works. And for those of you who don't know, Wix is an Israeli company. She's been fired. I mean, guys, I don't know what people are thinking. I really don't. All right, let's get back to Harry and Meghan. Next up, we're going to touch on this again because we know that King Charles gave that speech where he basically said it was important to see an argument from two sides. And of course, commentators have come up and said that that was absolutely directed at Harry and Meghan. They're saying that the hopes of an apology went right out the window. People should think both sides of an argument and a statement before you make a statement. And he said, and I've told you this already, do we pause instinctively and unerringly before speaking or acting to ensure we are affording equal rights and weights to both sides of the balance? Exactly. So what it comes down to is Harry wants an apology for the way Meghan was treated. Really? Would that be the £32 million wedding, the clothing allowances, the way you flew her around on private jets? Like, what does she want an apology for exactly? Whereas the royal family wants an apology for all the, and an admission of all the lies that they told to the public. I'm totally on the royal family side with this. A blind item has come out, you guys, basically saying that Harry is doing everything possible not to go back to California. I can believe that. Now, this came out because Harry, the eco-warrior, went to the Grand Prix. Now, this is interesting. Remember, he just came back from vacation with Meghan from, the Grenadines with no children. After their trip to New York, which was after their trip to Portugal, which was after their trip to Germany. So then they put out an article about what great parents they were. And now he's flown off again, once again by himself with no children to the Grand Prix, probably again by private jet. It is very, very obvious at this point that these two are leading completely separate lives. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of people found out about this because of Omid Scobie put out that he was a VIP guest of Mercedes at the F1. Now, you can be a VIP guest. It's not that big of a deal to get a VIP pass. He wouldn't be the only person to get one. So let me digress for just a second. Remember, Harry is constantly slamming his dad for not being there for him, for always leaving him alone. Even Elon Musk took his young child into the VIP area I mean, don't you think that Archie would have had a good time at the Formula One race? I'm sure he would have. But Harry's doing to his kid exactly what he claims his dad did to him. So Harry shows up with the CEO of Better Up, probably took a corporate jet there. And remember, Better Up right now is losing profits, they're losing staff, and they're laying people off. I mean, I've done videos on that before. I showed you guys. They complain of poor working conditions, but I guess those people's mental health doesn't matter. Anyway, Harry did not shy away from the spotlight. He could have gotten in without all the fanfare, but what good would that be? He's Prince Harry. So he went not only with his Better Up boss and business partner, but he went with Meghan's friend's husband, Matt Cohen. I just have to bring this up. You should know that they're still calling him Hypocrite Harry for the simple fact that their trip to Kenoa was taken by private jet right after they talked about how climate change affects mental health. They used the private jet to fly from New Jersey to there and then back again to Atlanta. All right, just have to point that out. According to Harry, climate change and mental health are the two biggest pressing options. Well, obviously he and Meghan don't give two rips about the climate. Again, it's as do as I say, not as I do. And mental health, Harry's too far gone to do anything with him. Anyway, he obviously had absolutely no trouble mixing and matching with people. He went into the garage area and was talking to them before the race, acting like he knew what the hell they were talking about. I think we all know that he doesn't. Anyway, Meghan was absent from this trip, and Harry really did appear relaxed and comfortable to start with. We'll get into that just a little bit as we move along. So he showed up right as the racers were gearing up. So Harry was chatting with the team. He appeared, they said, very animated, and he was listening carefully to everything they had to say as if he understood anything that they were saying. Give me a break. But apparently in the past, Harry has been, and I'm reading right from the article, he has been, quote, open about his love of racing and previously revealed he used to race Grand Prix winner Johnny Herbert in go-karting. Is that anything like playing Call of Duty when you're in the bunker? I'm just pointing it out, guys. Anyway, he seemed, like I said, his body language is different when he's not around Meghan. Maybe because she's not calling him, the other, when I'm not being married to this one. He's gone from H to my husband to this one. So I'm sure he is quite happy to be away from her. He tried to look cool. He tried to look like, Prince Harry, here I am. Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. He didn't pull it off. At least not for me, he didn't. And once again, he had a ton of security around him. I don't get it. Now, other people were able to enter without the big fanfare. I think he does that because he wants the fanfare. Now, I have to agree with Karen Carter here. Don't tell us that you hate the media when you look at this. He actively is courting the people with the cameras. So yes, every click just takes me back. I have such PTSD, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so when he got done talking with these people, he sat in the box watching the race, and that's when I saw it. Harry looks anxious and fidgety. I mean, look at him. I wonder what he's on. Anyway, I wonder if they're not finding things for him to do. You know what I mean? Just to keep him out of the way. So they're sending him around to these things like a small child. And one more thing I have to point out before we move on. Look at Harry's hair in this photo. You see the bald completely in the back and then the little tuft on top. Here it is a little closer. That is hair implants as far as I'm concerned. Whew. All right, let's finish this up now. Kim Kardashian had her 43rd birthday party in Beverly Hills. Guess who was not invited? That's right, Harry and Meghan. You would think that with all the hoopla that's been going out recently about how they're going to make an appearance on the Kardashian show and how Kris Jenner wants to bring them into the fold and blah, 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 all these stories that are ridiculous that are going around, that they would be invited. But no invitation came. And there were a lot of A-listers at that party, let me just tell you. But what I found interesting is not long after that, Harry put out a statement. And his reported statement is that he's not keen to work with the Kardashians. So basically, the Kardashians don't want to work with him, so now he doesn't want to associate with them. The Hollywood sludge, he called them. All right, you guys, you know what I'm looking for. Put those comments down and make them good. If you've donated to my coffee fund or through the thanks button, thank you so much. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell. If you've already done so, double check. Make sure you're still subscribed. And as always, you guys, have a great day.